I picked this hood up from LKQ Pick Apart in Greer, South Carolina, with the intentions of creating a carbon fiber hood. I've been watching Street Bandito, AJ Hartman, and Throttle Stop Garage for the longest time, and I've always wanted to get into working with composites. Here I'm starting the process to make the mold using the hood as a plug. I've worked with fiberglass before and felt confident I could get a somewhat decent part made. I spent some time cleaning it. This MR2 in the junkyard looked like someone put some time and money into it. It had custom paint, a bunch of suspension parts, and a Cybon hood that was destroyed. This engine cover was in pretty good shape, and the paint was still minty. Here I'm attaching some signboard with hot glue to make some flanges. It worked out pretty well, except they were a little on the small side. Here, using clear packaging tape, I taped over the seams of the different signboards to prevent resin from seeping through. To prevent a mechanical lock of the part, you need to close the gap between the hood and the signboard. I use clay to do this because all professional videos use clay. This is a long process. And since this was a spare hood that I didn't really care too much about, should have used silicone and a caulking gun to speed this process up. The weather was bad, and the fiberglass resin has a lot of fumes I don't want circulating around my house while my kids are home, so I decided to work out of a storage unit. I applied release agents and then the tooling gel coat. I don't have much footage of pulling the plug from the mold. I was working on my lunch breaks and didn't have the time to film. But one thing that did happen was the gel coat reacted with the purple paint on the hood and pulled away in some places, revealing a very nice factory silver paint underneath. But overall, came out pretty nice. A month or so passed between making the mold and trying to pull apart from it. I decided I wanted a chop fiber finish, as I thought it would be easier to get a nice finish, as I wouldn't need to worry about the weave shifting around. If you notice, I didn't place chop strand over the entire mold. You can see where it's kind of light towards the edges. This definitely ended up affecting my final product, leaving some gaps in the finish. From the onset, I planned on getting an aluminum plate for the vents, similar to what Ropey Racing sells, so I positioned a layer of weave where I thought the most strength would be needed. I'm not planning on mounting this to a frame or making a mold of the frame. I wanted to see how light I can make a hood. Here I lay the final layer of woven carbon. This went on really nice, and I kind of wish I just did 3 layers of weave. I don't know. I personally like the traditional carbon fiber look a lot better than the forged or chopped fiber look you see a lot nowadays. Here you can see it's pretty flexible in the left and right direction. It's stiff from front to back. I think that has to do with the shape of the hood itself. On the next one, I'm going to add some kind of core material to stiffen it up a bit. But it is strong, it's light, and should still work as a functional part on a car. So a major problem I had, my mold surface came off of the part, so this ended up being a one-time use mold. And second, you can see where I didn't lay enough chop strand down near the edges, that the layers of carbon on the edges didn't adhere properly. This wasn't too bad of a problem because most of it was behind the trim line, but I do have a few spots that will need to be addressed with something like resin or some type of epoxy. Here it is after a bit of finishing work. I want to brush on another layer of epoxy to fill in some low spots and then clear it. Overall, I'm really happy with it. I learned a lot about the process. The next one I should make should be near perfect, but in the meantime, I should be able to run this and have a nice, light, functional hood and get some weight off the back of my car.